Welcome to another episode of the Create Branded podcast. Today, I have the great pleasure of introducing someone who is not only a very good friend of mine, but also the very embodiment of perseverance, purpose, and positivity. My good friend, Rosie Paulsen. Real quick, just a quick bio so you understand who we're speaking to. Rosie was born and raised in Ecuador, and she immigrated to the United States as a teenager. Since then, she's carved a path to success through grit, faith, and fierce determination. Today, she's a nationally recognized entrepreneur, dynamic business strategist with a Medicare niche, and she's a speaker based right here in Tampa Bay. She is a powerhouse, and she has created Rosie Paulsen Enterprises and S&R Services, where she helps people across our region navigate Medicare with confidence and care. But her impact doesn't stop there. She's also the author of a very inspiring book called Nieke, Resilience, Purpose, and Grit, the formula for achieving success. In her book, she lays out the 4 core components of her proven system for success. Nieke, an Ecuadorian term for drive and determination, is a word that perfectly captures Rosie's spirit. In addition to her business ventures, Rosie serves her community as an appointed commissioner for the Florida Commission on the Status of Women and is the former Hispanic American chair of the City of Tampa's Equal Business Opportunity Council. She holds certifications as a small minority and women-owned business and has received numerous awards and recognitions for her civic and entrepreneurial leadership. Rosie is often described as one of the most connected and influential leaders in Florida. And I know from personal experience that when you connect with Rosie, you're not just getting her wisdom, you're gaining access to a whole network of people, ideas, and opportunities. And I'm so grateful. I know, Rosie, you've connected me to a bunch of unbelievable opportunities. I could literally write a list of incredible opportunities that would have never happened in my life, my professional life, if it weren't for you. Her mantra is simple but powerful, pure, positive, and inspiring. So get ready, because today we're diving into a conversation with a tremendous woman whose energy is contagious and whose story will motivate you to aim higher and dream bolder and break barriers. Welcome so much, Rosie Paulsen, to the podcast.
Hello, Nicole. And hello, all your listening viewers and everybody that is out there. I am so honored to be here, and thank you so much for bringing this out to your listeners, to the people that you empower, the people that you inspire, because we don't serve the same community, and your pain tribe or the people that follow you, and they don't follow me because you are unique. You are wonderfully made. And that is why it's so important that you share your wisdom too with that part of the people that also you inspire.
Yes, absolutely. And it's so funny. Like I try not to overdo it with the whole God thing, or the universe, but I really do think it's it gives me chills sometimes, because this morning, something happened where there was, a degree of rejection, right, in my professional life. And I was kind of mulling it over with Maria, who's my right hand at work. And, we kind of talked about it, and then it was not everyone is going to like you, especially if you're doing it right. And you have to kind of, we're going to talk about that today, about self-love and just being this is the way I am. This is the way God made me. And, not everyone is going to, get me or follow me, but there's going to be a whole other segment of people that connect with me, and they think that I'm awesome, and they admire and respect me. And you have to stay focused on that. Since I've ever known you, sorry, go ahead.
No, and I was going to tell you, you have to stay true to who you are, because sometimes there's things where there's rejection. It's kind of like a distraction where you will compromise your values. And the most empowering thing is choosing to be your authentic self. And, sometimes it's not that person doesn't like you. Sometimes it has nothing to do with liking or not. It's the timing. Because that person, for what they're looking for, this might not be your time. But watch, they, because you stay so authentic and so true to yourself, they're going to say, you know what, this other time, I'm going to need this, and Nicole is the perfect person for that time. And that
Yeah.
time is perfect.
Yeah. And it didn't have to do with like sales. It was just like, some people that kind of ghosted me and stuff. But listen, since I've known you, Rosie, for, I almost want to say a million years, but obviously that's not true. I feel like I've known you for basically almost my entire professional career. When I first met you, you were still working at the first company that you built and sold. Tell me a little bit about that first business that you created and sold.
This is so funny because you and Victoria, right? I always, and I love Victoria to death, but in this, you became a mom with Victoria, but you also grew and practiced being a mom with Victoria, right?
Mhm.
So when you have the second and the third child, it's a lot better because you already were a mother with this one. But Victoria is the one that is getting to help you experience and gain those skills. That's what Good Faith Insurance Services was for me. Every single mistake that you can make, I did it in that industry, and
Sure.
actually in that company. But that is actually the one that helped me um, understand what my passion is, where my business strategies ideas come from, where my book was created and was birthed from. Because every single mistake I learned from that, I understood that I can find a solution for it. And people always, I'm like a sponge. I always kind of go out there and throw it to the universe and says, hey, can you give me an answer for this? And I always get really good people that they're always invested on my success. And I learn it. And then I put it on my book. So when I did my second and my third company, actually, those companies grew faster because I had all that knowledge of how to do it right the first time. And with that, for the new minted Medicare agencies owners that I'm building in my second agency, they know all the mistakes. They will not have to make all those mistakes because I'm going to say, hey, by the way, you don't have to do this, but you can do this. So what took me 20 years is going to literally take them maybe a third of that time to be successful.
Right, right. And that's just like the key of success. But um, we we also had the chance to work together. Me helping you on a marketing capacity, and I had access to your files, and I actually ran into a lot of the documentations from Good Faith Insurance, and I read it, and I was like, wow, like you had like standard operating procedures, you had, the whole gamut, and so you were able to sell that, and then um, over the years, I saw you experiment with what you wanted to do next, with that phase in your life where you were just like, I already had, created my business, I sold it. Now, what does Rosie want? What does Rosie want to pursue? And so you kind of had your hands in a bunch of different pots,
Mhm.
doing a bunch of things, which, makes me think of like, managing your own personal brand. And I actually learned a lot about managing your own personal brand from you. Can you share with me a little bit about how, that journey where you were, and you even created different businesses off of it. You have, Rosie Paulsen, you personally, Rosie Paulsen Enterprises, and then you actually launched another firm called S&R Services, which I helped you with the logo and,
Yes,
and the
yes.
initial branding of that. But so share with us how you were exploring different things and what that journey was like and how you landed to where you are today.
Well, and this is funny because I don't always have it together, and that's probably one of those tips that if you guys walk away from this today is, just do it. Just do it. Don't have it all together. So what happens is because I always share this, for 17 years, I work on a strategy. No, I work on tactics, not a strategy. I never had a strategy. And because of that, what happens is I wasn't focused because I did not have a clear north of where I was going to go, where I was going to, what was I going to achieve, and how I was going to get there. So if somebody says, Rosie, you need to create your website, I went and create my website. And then, Rosie, you need to do business cards, which we all do, but it doesn't have to be the ones that I originally created. So yes, I went and did that. Rosie, you have to have a logo, and I did the logo, but nothing kind of gel with anything because there was not a North Star. And if I can tell you that strategy is that North Star from your business that will keep you focused. Okay. So then somebody says, Rosie, write a book. And I read, but nothing was really working with that. Now, about 2.5 years ago, I will say I hired a business coach and I gave him really a hard time for the first 3 months because that man just like went through all my barriers, all my walls, all my anything and got to my core values. And that's what he is really known for, to give you clarity. So I've taught him all the way, but he finally gave me that clarity to know I did not have any strategy. So we put in a strategy together. I did not change the tactics. I just had those tactics helping me with the focus of staying to the course that I was going to do. And from one quarter in 1 year to the same quarter the next year, my business grew 600%. So another tip that you can take from this talk with me today is your strategy will keep you focused. You will have more time and you will spend less money to achieve the same thing faster.
So I hear you talk, and like the word that bubbles up to my mind is hindsight is 2020. I think it's very easy. Once you've kind of reached the top of the mountain, you look back and you go like, oh, and you can piece the pieces back together. I think Steve Jobs had a quote about that. But when you said I don't always have it together, like I, I'm one of those people that I think maybe people think that I have it together. And if, my God, I feel like if we could just all kind of like be real with each other and like nobody really has it completely together all the time. I think we're always trying to do our best. How, you say you're doing all these tactics and then, but you didn't have a strategy and that was a problem. And that your strategy is the North Star. But as you're kind of fumbling through life, trying to like figure it out and get it together, how is it that, your work with RJ, who's the name of your business consultant, the profit professor, we're
Yes, the
plugging
profit
him here.
professor.
How were you able to kind of like, siphon out what that North Star, what that strategy needed to really be?
Well, I think the biggest thing is your coaches are able to speak to you the way you understand. Okay. So at the very beginning, he threw a lot of numbers at me, a lot of numbers. And I was like, whoa, like, forget
You're
it.
not
That's
a
like,
numbers person.
numbers, numbers. Hey, the
You're
profit
not a
professor, numbers. But he then realized that my passion is helping business owners succeed. And I talk about it. That's my mantra. That's what keeps me going. So he realizes it's more about my emotions and what I want to achieve. Because, yes, I love to do Medicare options for people and show them the North Star of what's the plan that's going to work for them. And then to raise the next generation of insurance leaders with that servant heart. So I help others to do what I do so they can serve their community. But at the end of the day, my heart is to be in the community or in front of audiences nationally and internationally and sharing my story of grit and ñeque and resilient and not ever, ever giving up. Because as humans, when we lose is when we give up. So you're going to fall many, many, many times. But the key is that if you fall 7 times, that you get up 8. Now, I'm
Yes.
not saying that sometimes you don't want to stay in the ground because it's just like life happens. But it's your attitude. So stay in the ground, look at the amazing sky. If it's at night, admire the stars. If it's during the day, enjoy the sun. But at the end of the day, have a little bit of your pity party and then get up and do it again. Because owning a business is a courageous act and you do it every single day with fear or without fear. But that's what gets you going. And then I always throw that part of in the United States, 70% of the economy of this country is run by small businesses. So remember, only you were created to be that part of the engine that moves America to the successful nation that it is.
Yes. Yes. And absolutely. And, um, you said that and I was reminded about breaking those generational curses and being able to,
You have to do it again because you got stuck. So, oh, sorry. Do it again.
oh, I got stuck. No, that just I was remembering about, breaking those generational curses, with that limited mindset. And now you are dedicated to through SNR Services, which is another
Mhm.
Medicare brokerage firm, right?
Mhm. Yes.
Now you're recruiting other men and women in the community that already have service-based businesses, and recruiting them to also offer Medicare under your umbrella.
Mhm.
And you have an impressive number of brokers under you now. How many do you have?
23 altogether. And
Wow.
I'm not saying, a lot of people says, oh my God, people, and especially in my industry, there's people that says I have 400 agents, but then only 40%, 40 produce. So technically you got 40 agents, really. So 10% of your workforce or your human capital produces. I pride myself to tell you that I have 100% production. So I'm not saying they all produce 100 policies, but they all produce to what their goal is. But the
Right.
key, they all give me 110%. They all invest and they all go in their full force because they really love to serve people. That's why they have that servant heart, and they're already talking to people. So this is just another services to be able to, if they come across this need, and instead of their clients being taken advantage by somebody else, they can get those clients to have the clarity that they need from somebody they trust like that.
And that speaks to your leadership, right? Like if I already have an entrepreneurial mindset, I'm looking to diversify my portfolio. I'm not going to align or associate with somebody that is not a good leader, that's not going to inspire and motivate me and really help me be successful. Um, I know we were talking about, like, what do we focus on? Like, what can we give our listeners as a takeaway? And we talked about, um, just 5 lessons that you learned along the way that were transformative. And the first one you mentioned was to understand that you're your business's biggest commodity, right? Whether you're Rosie Paulsen or you're one of the agents, like,
Mhm.
just you as an individual, help give us that knowledge mic drop of, understanding that you are the most important celebrity, right, of your company.
Yeah, and this is so funny because you're the one that actually introduced me to that. You're kind of like a celebrity in Tampa, Rosie. And I'm like, I am. Yes, I
You are.
am. By the way, where is Rosie? People want to know where's Rosie. And some people do not want to know where is Rosie. But guess what? They're thinking about
That's
Rosie.
okay. Yeah.
and and that's the thing, because you cannot, if especially as small business owners, you're competing with the corporations, the brands, the very like non-emotionally attachment things,
Right.
or corporations, right? Companies, but you, the only thing you have is you yourself. You're a authentic person, because you are going to, in a sea of people, in my industry, Medicare, there's so many people doing it, but nobody's the reina de Medicare. Nobody's the Medicare matchmaker. That is me. And I have owned that. And it's understanding that I have value not because I'm the Medicare matchmaker or because I own a company or because I'm American. I have value because I am Rosie. And because of that, and because I'm my business biggest commodity, I have to be the best version of me. And my biggest competition is who I was yesterday, not today. Today is a new day where I can get up and learn something new. 1%, if you improve 1% per day, you will be 100% better in 100 days. So it's
Yes.
little things, and it's your personal development. Oh my God, your personal development is the biggest tool that you can invest in yourself. And it's like the discovery card. Every time you invest in you, it's priceless, because your business grows as your mind grow, as your mindset grow, and as you understand that you have a purpose that only you can fulfill. And with that purpose, like the Spider-Man says, with that power comes a lot of responsibility. and only you can fulfill that. When you understand that, you're going to walk into a room knowing what you bring to the table. And if they take it, fine. And if they don't take it, it's fine too. It's their loss, not yours. You move on and continue to do your purpose.
That's exactly right. And we were talking about like taking self-limiting beliefs and limitations away. Like a lot of times people, I see this all the time everywhere, where I talk to people about variety of things, and they're like, yeah, the problem is, it's like, whatever you speak, whatever you say, that's the house that you're living in. Like that's your reality. You
Yeah,
have to really, and I've always known you to be somebody that, like, you get this idea and you are a great strategist. Like, I've kind of brainstorm ideas with you, and you're like, you need to you piece things together, and then you piece it together quickly, and then you barge through. And I always think, I'm like, it's like nobody ever said no to Rosie. Like, but it's not that. It's that you don't say no to you. That's the
exactly.
key.
Exactly. And this is one thing that I learned from one of my friend doctors, Dr. Yamani, who has an office, All Care Medical, in Pinellas. He has 3 offices. But Dr. Yamani has such a wisdom. But I remember he says, whatever you put after I am, you are. And when he said that, man, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Because I said, man, if I say I am, I am whatever I said that is negative, I'm going to be. So I started saying, so now I say, Rosie, you're beautiful. I am successful. I am beautiful. I'm powerful. I am happy. I am smart. I am enough. I'm just the right size. I am disciplined. I have tenacity. I love and I accept myself just the way I am. And that's
Yep.
my mantra every morning in front of the mirror, because I love Rosie. Because if I don't love Rosie, nobody else is going to love Rosie. And
Yep.
Rosie, the little spiritual Rosie that perhaps couldn't grow up to be the successful woman that she is, because back then she was so limited by her surroundings. Because as a child, you are depending on the people that take care of you. So whatever they tell you, you're going to believe. So I
Yeah.
had to go back spiritually to that little girl and says, look who I am now. Look who are you going to be? And then pick up that lady, that little girl, and encourage her and tell her, you are going to do wonderful things, and let's do this together. And that will also help you take away the things that will hurt that little girl, because
Yep.
it's like your child. You're going to reparent that child because she wasn't parently
Yep.
not correctly, because your parents didn't love you, because your
Hmm.
parents didn't know anything
Right.
better. That's what they were deal with, and they invested in you. But you can reprogram the parenting of that little girl in a functional way, where you can bring that little girl, protect that little girl, and then make sure that she achieves the wonderful person that she is today.
Yeah. And that ties back into like loving yourself. You took a disc assessment
Yes.
that you've always championed, as far as I've known you, to, take it, because it helped you figure out what your strengths are and what
Mhm.
your weaknesses are. Not weaknesses, maybe it's just something that you just don't enjoy. And
Right.
that's the kind of things that you have to delegate. And you've always championed building a team around you to support you. And I
Yes.
know for a fact that's something that distinguishes successful business owners, that they can build a team around them to support.
Yes. So the DISC assessment, the reason why I actually did not have to do it for business, I actually did it for my marriage. Scott and I, my husband of, oh my God, it's going to be 19 years on the
Oh my
27th
gosh.
of July. But we our first, I would say, our first patch of having, okay, where we going, we need to really do something. We went to a marriage counselor, Owida Wash, and she says, why don't you guys take the disc assessment? And she did it based on the characters of the Bible. And my husband, it's so my husband and I are totally the opposites, but together we are the perfect disc. So I
Mhm.
always said my husband is always the person that will rain in my parade, because he gets me all the minutia, all the little things. All I want to do is go there and have fun. But those things are what's going to make the experience better, the safety better, and people leaving with something tangible that they can take with you, that they can remember. So I give the emotional aspect of the meeting the Rosie team or meeting our company, and then Scott makes sure that all the little things that keeps us safe and keep us engaged after they have spent the time with Rosie can keep that person saying, even after they meet, oh my God, I was in Rosie's place and it feels like it was a family. I was part of the family. And that's part of the brand. That is the brand. That is me. That's who I am as a person. And I want to reflect that in my business too.
That's awesome. And the second thing was that your business and your personally and your who you are personally is the same thing. I think for a long time I was raised to believe that like Nicole in her personal life is one thing and then Nicole in her professional life is something completely different. And as I've grown up and reparented myself, I've learned that over and over I'm like, that's not true. It's kind of like, one and the same and mixed in.
Yeah. So, for example, I always tell people in my Medicare business, right? I get a call usually on Saturday morning and I answer the phone, and people do not like, they go, is this Rosie? And I say, yes, it's Rosie. Say, are you answering on a Saturday? And I say, well, I own the business and I really don't work. I love what I do. So, yes, I answer on a Saturday. Some people says, will you work on a Sunday? And I say, after church, of course, if that's available to you, I'm gonna make myself available. I am the owner of my time. And but I love helping people. And that's what I'm saying. You can't separate your business from who you are. Because if and I think maybe at the beginning, like for example, we talk about cold calling. Cold calling is not my strength. That I know for a fact that I will procrastinate and not do that whatsoever. But put me in front of 40 people in a room and I'll own that room. That is my strength. So it has helped me to understand that my business cannot be built on cold calling because I will not be successful. I will dread my business. And guess what? If they call me on a Saturday, I'm not going to be happy. I'm definitely not going to work on Sunday for something that I do not like to do. But knowing, and then this comes with the DISC assessment, knowing what my strengths are, I was able to delegate what things that I'm not good at. And it kept me away from mediocrity. And what I say about mediocrity, because my upbringing was, okay, be good enough to pass like under the radar. So like I was a good person talking and making friends, but I was not per se a good person. I was not an A student. So my mom wanted me to be an A student because she comes from the teacher background and this is what I did. Well, I was not, because I was more busy talking to people, building those relationships in my class.
You're an extrovert.
Yeah. So by doing that, I was able to say, as an adult, this is what my business is going to do. So my business, it's honed. And that's why I also says, Rosie, the person, has a brand. SNR Services, who helps people with their Medicare options and is raising the next generation of insurance leaders, have a different brand because that one has a different vision. Rosie Paulsen Enterprises, or RPE, has a different brand because there's a different target market. Okay. But at the end of the day, the glue that sticks all this together is Rosie. And Rosie needs to be the best version of myself in order to give my energy, my purpose to the world and achieve what I was created to achieve.
Yep. I mean,
And let me tell you something too, because I remember this is something, and we're going to be very raw, and this is what it's all about. But remember when you had your office in downtown,
oh,
and I
yes.
went to visit you there,
Yes.
and I was like, oh my God, she has it all together. I was like, she has it all
No.
together. And then later on, I said, oh, we got another meeting, and I said, do you want me to go out to your office in downtown? She goes, I don't have that office anymore because that office was just like my nightmare. All the
Yeah.
things that was happening and the parking and all the things that came to it because you made that decision, not having the clarity of who you were at that time in your business. Because I also seen that you have, you have work on make your business the person that makes you happy. And at that time, I don't think none of us had that clear. Now
Yeah.
you
Well, I think also, so I've been in business for 15 years, and that matters. That makes a big difference. And I think that, and also when you're younger, I think you approach the world a little bit different than when you're older.
yeah.
So, that was back when I drove two BMWs back to back. Like, today I drive a Chevy Equinox. It's,
Right.
it's my mommy car. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if I should, eventually upgrade back to like, nice car. And I'm like, honestly, no,
No,
because as you grow and you mature, you realize that your values change and shift, and you realize what matters and what doesn't matter. And that comes with maturity. So when I had started my company, and I started it, out of my fiance's second bedroom. My company was really it was always almost from day one remote. Um, Back then, virtual and remote wasn't as widely accepted as it is today. And I felt like in order for me to be successful and to be a real company, I needed to have an office. And so, and I needed to have a BMW, and I needed to dress super nice and expensive. And I needed to, you think you put all these like things that you
yes,
think need
yes.
to happen so that you look successful, so that, fake it till you make it. Like, and when you grow and mature, you don't need that validation so much,
Mhm.
because you have so many experiences where you look back where you know that you were successful, or where you made the right decision, or that you're not kind of like, what, I actually don't need external validation anymore, right? I've grown up and out of that.
Right.
But yeah, that downtown office, I remember you actually came, and I think you were in transition in terms of like, your career, and you were still kind of like, you
I
had
was
sold the agency, and you weren't, you still hadn't like gotten your footing of what you wanted to do next. And I remember you came and you met with me in my office, and yeah, you're probably thinking like, wow, this girl is amazing. And my office was awesome. Like, I had this amazing conference room with a TV and like the whole thing, and the brick wall, and downtown. And yes, parking was a nightmare. I quickly realized nobody wanted to come visit me because parking was difficult. Clients always wanted me to come to their office. So yes, I looked at that and I was like, okay, I thought moving towards this was like the right option. And then I learned like very quickly, like I was wrong. Let me course correct and turn around. But
but
you had
here
asked me,
but this is the thing, you made a switch, so you said, okay, this is not where my I want to spend my resources, so it's
uh-huh,
okay to say,
uh-huh,
okay, I'm not going to renew my lease and I'm going to work from my office. It's okay. You don't have it to have, you don't have to have everything together. Your business as it develops, it will tell you,
uh-huh.
maybe you should try this way. No, you might not try this way,
But
so
this is not
just
working.
listen to that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, hindsight is 2020. When you're moving forward, you have to really pay attention to the signals, and analyze what you're doing. I think on a cadence. Look at your numbers. Make sure that that you have in mind like what your objective is as a company. Make sure you're meeting that. You know what I mean? Like, there's all these like checkpoints that you tap into,
Well,
and then you have to make those course adjustments quickly, to stay afloat. I think that if you're too slow, or if you fail to see the signals, your ship is going to sink.
yeah, but this is the other thing. So I'm not a numbers person, and Margie, because my accountant, can tell you that. So the only reason why I know that everything works is because I have to sit down with her every quarter. But she doesn't overwhelm me too much with the numbers, because I
Uh-huh,
didn't know what to ask for to begin with. Now I do have a clear understanding of what I need to ask for from
uh-huh.
her to see if I'm growing or I'm not, or what I'm. But the adjusting happens like at the year when I say, oh my God, I made this much this year.
Yeah.
And last year, I can tell you that I have made, there was one year when I had an opportunity, and that's the year that I made about $180,000, and that was unheard of. Like, but last year I got to 145. So I'm really 40, less than $35,000 away from that one year where I had that opportunity that grew my business tremendously. And that and this 145 was after losing a contract that was bringing me $40,000 a year. So when I tell you that I have um fail to the point that I thought I was gonna have to close my business because my license was being investigated. Literally, I tell people they threw me to the fire, but I'm so resilient that I will come back out of the fire with. That was I will come back out of the fire with torches and light your fire
Right.
because it's like you cannot my resilient that's my superpower. It's not gonna
Yes.
happen. I'm going to adapt,
Yeah.
um transform and move forward.
Yes. That's I don't remember if he said this on an episode or if it was just me in conversation with him. Tony Miller, who's one of the entrepreneurs that we've interviewed on one of the past Create Brand Envy podcast episodes. I remember distinctly he told me, Nicole, over the years, what I've noticed is those that make it are the ones that are capable of hanging in there. Can you ride the waves of the up and down? And at the end, they end up being successful in making it just by the mere fact that they hung in there. They hung in there long enough to figure out how everything needs to move for it to flow. So they were able to kind of, make it through. And like I said, that would be my advice. Like, you got to know the signals, whether you're meeting with your CPA quarterly or me. I don't know. I'm a analytical
Yes,
driver, right? And
you're an
that's
analytical
my
person. That's
I'm
your
an
forte.
analytical driver. So
Yeah,
we review our finances every week, and then we close the month every month, and then we review the quarter at the end of every quarter. I mean, I'm like on top of it. And even despite the fact that I'm on top of it,
hmm
I also have moments where I go, really? We made that much? Like,
yeah,
are you sure? Like, oh, wow. Okay. I guess we are doing good. Because in my brain, I'm just constantly,
yes, yeah. But
but
this is let me tell you another little quick story too. So you always says, "Who's a millionaire?" Right? Who's a millionaire? And I was like, okay. So I told Margie one time, I want you to tell me how much money I have made in this 21 years that I've been in business, and it's closer to 1,500,000. So I
oh,
said,
nice.
"Oh man, I am a millionaire."
Oh my gosh, you're making me curious. I don't think I've ever looked at
Oh yeah, nobody has ever
cumulatively.
did that.
I
Did that.
mean,
So
15 years. I'm going to say, no, I don't know. Now I got to
yeah,
look.
but see, this is the thing is now the affirmation that I say, oh, I am a millionaire, now is also validated
Right.
with the backing, even though I never says, oh, I'm gonna make $1 million. I'm gonna make $1 million. So don't now with the profit professor.
Yeah. Well, I
He
mean,
wants
you
us,
just spent it. If you lived rent free or, really low cost of living, I'm sure if I lived rent free or really low cost of living, I probably would have $1 million in the bank.
right,
It's just that we spend it on things.
right.
So,
But you can make $1 million. That's the takeaway from here. Yes, so you can make $1 million. So let's see that Nicole closes NV tomorrow and you decide to do something else. Guess what? Your experience and your
oh,
confidence now, it's like you're not going to start from scratch. You're going to
no.
start from all this experience and all this knowledge. And
Yes.
that's what also people pay for.
Hmm.
So you can
Yeah.
always go back to that consulting aspect of it. And let's think about it. 50 years ago,
Hmm.
consultants were people that couldn't hold a job, and that was
Right.
frowned upon, right? But now it's like the consultants are these people that love to share their experience, and they have a lifestyle that they want to keep up, and they know who they are, and people pay for that.
Hmm.
People pay for that. So, yep,
Yep. Yep. So, just to stay on track,
yes,
one of your core values or one of your big, success lessons is to always make sure that you're giving back to the community.
yes.
And you have always, since I've known you, you've been involved in the community always.
Yes. So there's different ways of getting involved with the community. So, for example, one thing that I will say, even though I can participate per se in a backpack giveaway for children, in a back to school, whatever things, that's really not where my heart is. If it's related to a senior, that's where I'm going to gravitate for. But my biggest, even more than, because SNR Services, remember, is the company that helps me make my living, right? God provided that for me to make my living. But my passion is helping business owners succeed. And I do that with Rosie Paulsen Enterprises. So one of the things I realized is that as a business owner, you don't only have to know about your business marketing strategy or your numbers or your brand. You also have to be engaged in public policy, because there are people in policy or in the government that will make laws, or that will pass laws that directly or indirectly affect your business, which in the pandemic, look what happened. That was like the eye opener for me during the pandemic. While other states, some businesses went under because the state closed all the small businesses. Florida was open. And I think Florida has a thriving economy because of that. Now, you're always going to get the people that tell you, oh my God, because you put us all at risk by not closing the business. But you know what? The engine of this country, 70% is moved by the small businesses. So if you close the small businesses, the engine, the heart, it just dies. This country will die if we do that. So that is when I said, okay, how do I do that? And I realized that there are what is called appointed positions, that they have vacancies that people do not apply because A, they don't know, B, they think that it's politics, C, they think that they have to be elected, like they have to run a campaign or something. And I realized, no, I don't have to ask people for money, and I don't have to ask people for votes, but I will do that when I run for Congress. But I can be a voice, and I can sit at the table where these decisions are being made, instead of me wishing or hoping or complaining, which we a lot do. We complain about the government, but the moment says, go to your city council and attend a city council. Oh no, it's in the afternoon and it's raining and I cannot do it, and blah, 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 blah. Those are excuses. And excuses is being negative. And people don't like negative people. So stop making excuses, because excuses makes you a negative person. Okay? So that's when I realized I have that power. And then choosing something gives you power. And that power can, like, who would have known that a person that came from a third world country like Ecuador, sits at this committee that helps all women in the state of Florida to celebrate them, to empower them, and encourage them, right? And I would not ever have known that if I did not immerse myself in the culture and learn that nobody's gonna stop me unless I stop myself. Which you mentioned, funny that you said the other day when we were talking, nobody tells no to Rosie. They do. It's just I don't take the no for an answer, and I call it the Rosie effect. Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you might say no, but you end up giving me something else that sometimes is more than what I was asking for, or
Yeah.
you connect me with somebody that gets me what I need.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say that you don't always have to pick up with what other people put down.
Mhm,
You can
mhm.
just be like, you can just, whatever they put down, you can just leave it there. You don't have to pick it up and put it inside of you.
Yeah.
Um, you came up with, you were talking about choosing as an attitude of power. You came up with your own quote.
Yes, yes. And I don't have it in front of, well, you know what? It's
I
in my
have it. I
phone.
have it. Do you want me
Go
to read
ahead
it?
and see it, because this
I
was an
have it.
inspiration. And let me just back it up a little bit. I have been in this refining process for the past 2 years, I will say, since my husband had his first open heart surgery. And 15 months later, we have a second open heart surgery. But I got to the point where all the connections, all the power, all the Rosie tenacity, I was stumped. I couldn't do anything but sit down on the floor and feel those emotions, or being impotente, right? Like
Impotent. Impotent.
impotent, like you cannot, powerless. Powerless is the
Hmm.
word. I
Yeah.
had to sit down and cry But I literally understood that once you're there, God steps in. And he said to me, okay, are you done? Are you done? So can I do? Because God doesn't need your help. And since I've been in this journey with just not, I'm not going to give my peace to anybody anymore. Okay. God has taken people from my life that are part of my DNA. And he has taken them away from my life because he's elevating me to a different place, and it's relying on him. So relying on him, I was doing my morning devotions, and that's where I came up with this quote. Whether it's mine, mine, mine. But go ahead, Nicole.
Choosing is an attitude of power. It allows me to place spiritual values above anything that could separate me from the purpose I was created for.
Yes,
Rosie
yes,
by
and
Rosie
that is
Paulsen.
Rosie's quote. Now I'm gonna trademark it. And a little quick, a tip what I did. So if you have something that you want to trademark, you email it to yourself. So if somebody ever steals your stuff and says, well, it was not trademarking anything, you go back to the day you emailed that to yourself. There's the date, there's everything in there. And when it's a trademark dispute, they will go back and says, well, she had this before you did. So
I think that's for copyright. So
yeah,
like
well,
you used to be able to mail yourself something, and then the stamp, the date stamp on the envelope, if the envelope was sealed and it had like the date stamp, that showed as proof of like your copyright ownership. But trademarking, just because it has to do with like logos, and because I'm not a trademark attorney, I'm not an expert at this at all, but I do tell clients, like if you come up with a phrase for your company that you want to keep, that you want to really protect, you do have to submit it to like the trademark office. But I know you meant trademark, not
yes,
you meant copyright, not trademark.
copyright. Okay, yeah.
But I was hearing you, my brain was like, no, that's not right.
But see, this is the beauty of Nicole. This is Nicole's superpower. Nicole's superpower is going to those little things. It says, you know, it sounds really good, but this is how you're going to accomplish what you want. And they sound very similar, but this is one and this is
Right.
another one. And that's what
Oh yeah.
I love about you and our relationship. That's why I love to work with you business wise, but I also love to have you as a friend because you are the person that keeps me authentic, keeps me true to myself, keeps me me. And when I'm not me, you always say, hey, Rosie, this doesn't sound like you.
I mean, you've really stepped it up over the years, and because I think in the past I would see some of your stuff and I'd kind of, but no, yeah, you know, especially with AI, people think that like, social media posts or email, they're like, oh, we can do it ourselves, like, blah, blah, blah. And it's the devil is in the details. It's in the subtle things. I can't tell you how many pieces of copy I've read that I go, this is accurate, but it just doesn't sound good. It's implying other things that I know the brand does not want to be associated with. And the devil is in the details, and that those are like the small tweaks that make a really big difference in maintaining that brand integrity for companies. Um, um, the last closing like takeaway that you wanted to share was about diversifying and thinking about the legacy that you want to leave for future generations.
Yes, because one of the things that also I think was very clear to me is that I did not want to be Rosie forever, right? Rosie's not going to be here forever. I am human, and at one point I'm going to die, but it's not going to be today, right? But what am I leaving my future generations? Because we talk about a lineage. I come from a lineage of family, right? And there are also with that lineage comes some generational curses that some people are chosen to break. And I do believe that my calling is to break the generational curse of mindset over money and who you are, your value. Okay, so by understanding that I have some issues with my mindset about money, I have been able to have a healthy relationship with money now, and understanding that wealth and money are two different things. So I want to accumulate wealth because my future generations will benefit from that. But at the same time, I'm not doing it for myself. Each and every one of my agency partners have legacies that they're building for their generations. So this one person is not only healing my family tree, now I'm helping other families. And what is that legacy that you want to leave for you? And that is part of also your business, because once your business focus on those legacy that you want to leave, then you don't work anymore. You are just doing what you love to do and changing the environment that you are surrounded in.
Yes. Yes. And so, so now, in just, today you're at the helm of SNR Services. If you're a leader with a servant heart and you want to diversify your portfolio of services, just call Rosie.
That's how me. Let me tell you this other thing also, so you guys can understand. So SNR, remember when you created the logo, was for
Mhm.
Scott and Rosie, because my husband
Yes.
and I were doing this. But I
Yes.
was running from my calling for a very long time until I realized that duplicating myself is impossible, but cloning my knowledge in somebody else is how I can duplicate myself and work less and help others earn. So that's when I realized, well, this place cannot be called Scott and Rosie anymore because we have 22 people. So we switched the
Yeah.
name to Simple and Reliable Insurance Services.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I didn't
Yes,
realize that. I like that simple and reliable insurance service. Who came up with that? You, I'm sure you.
of course. I needed to kind of like, okay, what is this Scott?
Simple and
And then what is
reliable.
Rosie? And so yes, Simple and Reliable Insurance
And
Services.
that fits perfectly because you've always your motto has always been like Medicare simplified, right? Or like making Medicare simple because it can be
Yes,
complicated,
yes,
and then reliable, because that high trust factor it has you can't be like unsure about it. It needs to
yeah,
be, and that's what people want. People want everything to just be simple and reliable. So that's great.
yes.
SNR services.
Mhm.
And so, and I had asked you, like, you said service-based business. And I'm like, because I'm a service-based business, right?
Right,
Like, so what
right.
does that even mean? And you mentioned like, so people that are a public notary, people that are already a financial advisor, wealth management,
Mhm.
realtors, because they'll be
Yes.
helping seniors to downsize. So these are your target audiences for simple and reliable services.
Yes, and that's the thing. So you can diversify. That doesn't mean that I cannot help somebody that is new and just want to get their license and start scratch. But that's why you have to have that servant heart. Because
Uh-huh.
the reason why I'm always looking for people to diversify the portfolio, because the longest path of this business is getting your name out there. So for the first 6 months, you got to truck and get your name out there and meet people and talk to people. If you already have a business that you service, you already have a book of business tangible right there that you can call. I cannot call them because they're not my clients, but you can call them because they're your clients. And now you help them simplify, because let's face it, nobody likes to talk about insurance. It's very intimidating. But if you have somebody that knows what they're doing, they make it simple and they're in your corner, people says, okay, one less thing I have to worry. Go ahead, let's go, let's do it, Rosie. Just do what you told me to do because I trust you. So once they
Uh-huh.
trust you, it's done, it's there. That's why I'm not saying that people that want, they're looking for a new career and things
Yeah.
like that, you can do it. But
And
the
you'll
key,
train them, right? Like
and
you'll give them all the guidance, weekly meetings to
they
make
will
sure
be
that they're
under my wing. I
successful.
mean, I will not let you go. I tell people that once you're in Rosie's sphere, you can do two things. You can pull back and not enjoy the ride, or you can raise your hands and enjoy the ride, because I'm going to drag you even if you don't want to. And guess what? I'm going to win. I'm going to win.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can say just, I'm not involved in the Medicare world or whatever. I just know Rosie from, we served in the board at the HPWA
Yes.
together, and, and I've known her from networking and just being in the community. And she's made some amazing introductions and referrals for me of people, that I think she has this like Medicare Matchmaker mindset, but she carries that through everything. So whenever she's talking to somebody else and she realizes that it would be a great fit, she even for like a client of mine, like she even introduced somebody to me for one of my clients because she felt that they need to be introduced to my client. So then I was able, to briefly meet with that person and be like, I do think it's a good fit for my client. Let me go ahead and make an introduction to my client. So you're changing lives and creating opportunities, and that's free. You don't really charge for that. That's just kind of like a
No,
bonus from just being
that gives
associated with you.
that actually is my fix. That's how I get rewarded. So sometimes you get rewarded with money, but to me, when I see that relationship brought something to the table, and I always tell this, Nicole, and you and I know that when Victoria was born, you wanted to be there for her.
Of
And
course.
my biggest pain is that I was a single and absent mother when my children were little. And I can change my past, but I can't change my future. And I remember you saying with your heart, that's what you wanted to do. Of course, pandemic happened, but then I introduced you to a friend of mine that pretty much kept you alive through the
Afloat.
pandemic.
Oh yeah.
You were still able to breastfeed your child until she was older and all that stuff because you were able to realize this is you true what you really wanted, the dream that you wanted to live.
Yeah, once I had Victoria, I think, part of when I said, I want to start my own company, obviously you want to have a freedom. I think that that's, one of the primary reasons why people quit their 9 to 5 and say, I want to start my own company. I want to be there for my family. I want to be more present for myself. I want to be able to go exercise and be able to have better work-life balance. So yes, when I was pregnant with my daughter and when I had her, I knew I wanted to be able to juggle both. But the hard reality of being a mother, it's called the motherhood penalty. Like it's a huge drag on your career. I can't, I've got an infant. It's the middle of a pandemic. I literally cannot be networking out there. I cannot be meeting people. I cannot be going to, let me tell you a funny story, funny, true story. I had a new business appointment, potential new client, hired a nanny to take care of my infant daughter while I went to that new business meeting. The nanny never showed up, and she didn't even call. So I was like, where is she? Where is she? Where is she? And finally I was like, so I had to make a call. I'm like, do I cancel my appointment or do I just bring my daughter with me? And so I said, I'm bringing my daughter with me. And I exclusively breastfed Victoria for 4 years. So she never had a bottle. Like I didn't have a bottle prepared. Like there was I think I had like frozen milk in the freezer for the for the nanny. Like, and I wasn't about to do all that. So I'm wearing a suit, like jacket and everything, makeup, blah, 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 and I've got my dollar in the stroller. I'm listening to the client tell me about their company. It's serious stuff, right? Like serious business. And I'm hearing my daughter and I know she's hungry. And I just said, excuse me, I'm so sorry. She's hungry and I'm breastfeeding her. So if you don't mind, I need to breastfeed her right now. We can continue talking. And I just picked her up, lifted up my shirt, put her there, and with a suit, I'm like continued the meeting, and it was like, Nicole, don't make this awkward. It's not awkward unless you make it awkward. Like
Yeah,
just, And then when she was done, I put her back down and continued and closed the meeting, finished writing my notes. And I was like, however that went, if it went well, good. And if it, like this is me, like you said about accepting yourself and just being like, this is me. And if this makes you uncomfortable and if you think that this is, what I did was something wrong with or whatever, like,
that's your problem, not mine.
that's your problem, not mine. We ended up not moving forward. It wasn't because of that. I think that this company in particular just had like some tension internally about how marketing was going to be handled and whatnot. But it's a great story of, being a mom and having to make these decisions. And again, just nobody has it together. And sometimes you just got to roll with the punches and be authentic. And again, the people that there's this, I don't know, I think it's attributed to the author of Winnie the Pooh or whatever, but it's like but those who matter don't mind. And those who mind don't matter.
Yep. 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 That's who you were. That's who authentically. And that was a turning point for who you are as a business owner, because also you build your brand based on that, and having that opportunity to be home with your daughter.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I think that even made you, if you were to see the difference of you before and after, you were a lot happier because you live in your purpose authentically and genuinely. And people
Mhm.
know that. And guess what? If people do not want to do with business with you, it's not because of you. There's something
Mhm.
else going on
Yeah.
in there. And that's it. And and you're not everybody's cup of tea, and it's
Yep.
okay. Another
Yep.
thing I say, you're not Jesus, so you're not saving everybody. Just stay in your lane, do what you were called to do, live your purpose, and change your environment. That's all
Amen.
you can do.
Yeah. Yes. That's a perfect way to close. All right. If and people want to get in touch with you, they can always visit rosiepaulsen.com.
Yes.
How else can they get in touch with you?
My phone number, 813-909-6965, and my email, rosie@rosiepaulsen.com. All my social medias are Rosie Paulsen, and I am getting in TikTok to get my first 1,000 followers. So if you have
A
TikTok, follow me
thousand.
there. I
I
actually grew to 500, from 242 to 500 since July 4th. So it has
wow.
not even been 10 days, and it's just growing. There's this strategy of you got to consume the product, but also getting involved. And the community is very supportive. And my goal is to be able to sell my book. So if people want to get my book, you can put it in TikTok
Yes.
too. But it has been fun because I can be authentic, I can be myself. And let's face it, I'm in TikTok, I'm the real Rosie Paulsen because this is me and this is who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, I'll need to follow you. I actually uninstalled TikTok from my phone because it is so addicting.
It is.
Um and so I've actually gone through periods where I uninstall Instagram and Facebook because it's, I'll spend all this time like looking and browsing, and especially when I
Mhm.
get into the videos and I just kind of I'm not in the mood to watch a show or get
Right.
into anything long. I just kind of want to watch these funny reels that
Right.
keep getting fed. And so, but because of work, I unfortunately have to keep reinstalling the apps. Otherwise, things can
Yeah.
get crazy. But I'll have to check you out on TikTok, the real Rosie Paulsen.
Yeah, and
That's
Instagram. I mean,
amazing.
I have all that, but I really believe that with your personality also goes the social media platform that you're going to use. So, like LinkedIn is my big one. I have Facebook, but that because of the senior population that
Mhm.
I kind of educate.
Yeah, that you serve.
But I really do believe that TikTok, even though my target market is not there, it just allows me to be myself and the authentic who I am. So
Okay,
yeah.
I'm gonna have to check it out. Then I had no idea that you had a TikTok.
Well, I wasn't as excited as I was when I started it, because I think I had the account for about a year. But
Right.
since July 4th, I say, okay, let me work into this and see how I can make it work. And I have, and I'm not gonna tell you, but I have a friend that motivates me because he went actually from, I think, he only had like 500, and now he's 7,500 followers, and he has gone viral because of it. And I say, okay, let me just some friendly competition there. But he's the
Yeah,
one that kind of goes back and tells me, try this and do that and this, and yeah. So we love but the TikTok community is one of those. You're gonna have the haters everywhere, doesn't matter,
sure.
but there is that community that is very supportive of what you're doing.
Awesome. Yes. And that's what you need to focus on, not the trolls or the
Right,
people
right.
that are just, that you're not just their cup of tea. It's like
Yeah.
they're
And
lost, you know what you bring to the table and you know where your heart is. And I think that that's like, you need to know who you are, where your heart is and where you're coming from. And if you check in with yourself and you know that your intentions were always good, then, again, let that go and just be like, whatever.
yes, yes, yes.
Thank you so much, Rosie, for being a guest on my podcast and, sharing some of your knowledge and your energy and your enthusiasm and your wisdom. I know every time I touch base with you, I'm reminded that, nothing is impossible. You remind me of the value of the American dream. I was born here in this country. And even though I was raised in Puerto Rico, which is and I'm not going to get into the
It's still
politics of that,
America.
but
It's still America.
it totally is still America. It's not the same, but it's also not that different. It's Ecuador, where you're coming from. You call it
Right.
a third world. I've actually never been there. I have through marriage. I have family on both my sides that are from Ecuador, and I admire your people. You guys are all super intelligent. I love the culture, very family oriented, just an amazing. The foods. I've gotten to try some of the amazing. I'm like, what's this? And they're like, it's simple. It's just onion, and it's like red onion and lemon, and we just let
So,
it.
yeah.
I don't know, like they like
Encebollado?
a. I guess encebollado. It's like a side dish
Yes.
that I see like whenever we get invited to dinner, and I just put it on everything because it's
Yes.
so good, and it's just
Es ají también, perdón. You're talking about encebollado. Yeah.
it's a
So by
cebolla
the way,
roja,
no, and don't
red
think, no,
onion.
oh, Rosie's going to cook some Ecuadorian food. Rosie
Oh
doesn't know
no,
how to cook.
no, yeah. And my husband's always disappointed. He's like, you didn't cook me dinner. And I'm like, baby, I don't even,
Nope.
I have like no bandwidth to think about like I'm like working, picking up Victoria, like food. No, it's takeout or leftovers. Or the other day I went to El Puerto.
Uh-huh.
And El Puerto Restaurant and Grill, one of our clients, and Rosie knows Nelson
Yes.
as well. And I ordered a parrillada for two. Those people are so exaggerated. A parrillada for two is really for like 4 and 5 people.
Days, man. Yeah.
And then it comes with like 4 sides. So I went and I spent, I think because I tip well, right? They're my client. I can't be like a bad tipper. And so I think I spent like $150, which you're like, oh my God, for takeout. No, but it has lasted me the whole week. I
Right.
still have food in the fridge from that. So it's like, what's for dinner? It's like,
El Puerto.
parrillada, El Puerto. Yeah,
Puerto's
exactly.
for
Like
dinner.
totally,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being and sharing your wonderfulness. And this concludes another episode of the Create Brand Envy podcast.
Thank you, my friends. Stay pure, stay positive, and stay pure, stay positive, and stay inspired. Ciao.